We all understand that humans don't learn best just from listening. We learn best when we're listening and engaging and talking. When we're talking, we use 6 to 8 parts of our brain that we don't normally use when we're just thinking or acting. You use more of your brain while you're talking. You're literally smarter when you're talking. And we've all experienced this when we were struggling with a problem and then we talked to someone about it and we figured it out while we were talking. You're smarter while you're talking. And at Gravity Learning, we strive to make every single one of our attendees smarter so that they learn more, so that they use the tools that we bring to them. So, a couple of things that are inherent, that are pillars of Gravity Learning facilitation, is that everyone talks in Gravity Learning workshops. Now, this sounds great, except adults can sometimes feel put on the spot when they're called on, right? You've been there, or you've seen it happen. And so we have some special techniques that we utilize when we're reaching out to get people talking that are specifically designed so that people don't feel put on the spot and that they get a little bit of time to think and that there's no wrong answers. Let's talk first about the 3 question topics that are really good for learning and are also always safe. They're safe because everyone has an answer about these 3 things. Here they are. When you reach out to someone and you ask them about their thoughts, everyone has thoughts. So that might sound like, what are your thoughts about this? Like, what do you think? Or what they're noticing. Everyone's noticing something, aren't they? Or where they see value. What do you like? Where could you use this? What value do you see here? Now, what's interesting is when you're not quizzing someone, when you're getting them to talk about what they think or what they're noticing or what the value is, not only do they start activating those parts of your brain that help memory, they talk themselves into the awesome value of the content. Now, of course, it's difficult to learn something and apply it later if you don't rehearse right away. So let's do this. Pause the video, take a minute, and right where you're sitting, out loud, ask people about thoughts and what they're noticing or what value they see. Practice it until it becomes, natural to you. And then let's move on to the next part. Okay, so we've got people talking about learning appropriate topics where there isn't a wrong answer and it helps their brain go. None of this is super useful though if people are like, what? If I reach out and I say, why don't you tell me your thoughts? Jocelyn goes, and feels very put on the spot, and maybe she wasn't paying a ton of attention, and you've kind of embarrassed an adult, and adults get angry about that sometimes. That's why this methodology is so incredibly useful. This methodology is designed to get people listening before you ask them what to do and give them a little bit of time to think about what you're asking so that those introverts or people that don't have a ready answer get a little bit of time to speak about it. It's a fantastic 3-step technique called Setup and Pass. And Gravity Learning facilitators use Setup and Pass to make sure that when we reach out for interaction, we're reaching out in a way that lands well with adults. Here's how it works. The first step is designed to combat that, like, what? Because normally we ask a question, then we call a person's name, right? Instead, what we'll do is call their name first. When we say, David, or, hey, why don't I reach out to David and Tom? Now both David and Tom are like, what? We are awake now and our brain is on and we are listening. The most important step of Setup and Pass is to start with names. Then you ask them what you want them to talk about. Maybe you can share your thoughts or what you're noticing or where you see value. Really whatever's up in your brain, that's fine. You might consider letting them know it doesn't need to be a big long speech, 20 or 30 seconds, that's fine. Now, if you're reaching out to one person, David, right now David knows it's his time to talk. If you've reached out to David and Tom and Jocelyn, the last step is a super useful step. You say names again to kick it off. David, can you kick us off? Like that. Here's what Setup and Pass sounds like when you put the whole thing together. Why don't we reach out to Jocelyn and David and Tom And maybe you can say a little bit about your thoughts or what you're noticing here. It doesn't have to be a big speech, 20 or 30 seconds, something like that. David? Smooth, isn't it? All right, so remember what we're trying to do here. At Gravity, everybody talks. And if you just ask for participation, the same 4 people will participate and lots of people won't engage. If we're going to get everybody to talk, we're going to have to reach out and get them involved. And we need to do it in a way that doesn't make them feel put on the spot or like they have a right or a wrong answer, and that gives them a little bit of time to think. Now, like everything else, Setup and Pass takes a little bit of practice. So let's do this. Go ahead and press pause while you can see the steps on the screen right now, and out loud practice Setup and Pass like you're working with an audience. Practice it a couple of times until you feel comfortable, because it'll be a little bit rougher to do in front of an audience. Once you've got it, then you can put a big old feather in your facilitation cap, because Setup and Pass is fantastic.